Welcome back to English at Work. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Alex. This is episode 7 of our Interview Mastery series.
We've spent 6 episodes talking about what to say in interviews. Today, we're focusing on how you say it.
That's right. Your body language, tone of voice, and soft skills can be just as important as the words coming out of your mouth.
Studies show that up to 93% of communication is nonverbal. That's huge.
And interviewers are definitely paying attention to how you carry yourself, how you make eye contact, how you react to their questions.
The good news is that body language and soft skills can be learned and practiced, just like interview answers.
By the end of this episode, you'll know how to use body language to project confidence, how to read the interviewer's cues, and how to demonstrate the soft skills that employers value most.
Let's get started. Let's start from the very beginning, the moment you meet your interviewer. Alex, how important are first impressions?
Critical. Research shows people form first impressions in about 7 seconds, and once that impression is set, it's very hard to change.
7 seconds? That's before you've even said anything substantial.
Exactly. So you need to nail those first few seconds. That means arriving with energy, confidence, and professionalism.
Let's break this down. You arrive at the office. What should you do?
First, arrive about 10 minutes early. This gives you time to use the restroom, check your appearance, take a few deep breaths, and collect yourself.
What about at reception?
Be polite and professional with everyone. Receptionists often give feedback to hiring managers about how candidates behave in the waiting area.
Really? They're watching that closely?
Absolutely. If you're rude to the receptionist but charming to the hiring manager, that tells them something about your character.
So you're being evaluated from the moment you walk in the door.
Yes. Sit up straight in the waiting area. Don't sprawl on the couch. Put your phone away. Don't scroll through social media. You can review your notes, but stay alert.
Now the interviewer comes to get you. What happens next?
Stand up immediately. Don't make them wait for you to finish whatever you're doing. Gather your things quickly and greet them with a smile.
And then the handshake. Let's talk about this, because people stress about it.
The handshake is your first physical contact. You want it to be confident but not aggressive.
What makes a good handshake?
Firm grip but not crushing. Make full palm-to-palm contact, not just fingers. 2 or 3 pumps, then let go. And make eye contact while you're shaking hands.
What about eye contact duration?
During the handshake, maintain steady eye contact. It shows confidence, but don't stare intensely. That's creepy.
What are common handshake mistakes?
The dead fish, a limp, weak handshake. This makes you seem timid or unconfident.
What else?
The bone crusher, squeezing too hard. This seems aggressive, like you're trying to prove something.
And the finger grab.
Yes, where you only grasp the other person's fingers instead of their full hand. This happens when one person extends their hand too far or not far enough.
How do you avoid that?
Position your hand so that the web between your thumb and forefinger meets theirs. This ensures full palm contact.
What about sweaty palms? Some people get nervous and their hands sweat.
Keep a tissue or handkerchief in your pocket. Discreetly wipe your hand right before you meet the interviewer, or go to the restroom and wash your hands with cool water and dry them thoroughly.
What about in cultures where handshakes aren't common?
Good question. If you're interviewing in a culture that uses bows, for example, follow their lead. When in doubt, let the interviewer initiate the greeting style.
And during COVID or flu season, some people are avoiding handshakes altogether.
True. If someone doesn't extend their hand, don't force it. A friendly nod and verbal greeting are perfectly fine. It's great to meet you. Works without physical contact.
What about what you say during that first greeting?
Keep it simple and warm. Hi, I'm Jenny. It's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for inviting me today. Smile genuinely. Show enthusiasm.
And if they introduce themselves, make sure you remember their name.
Use it immediately. Nice to meet you, Sarah. This helps you remember and shows you're paying attention.
Once you're past the greeting, let's talk about how you carry yourself throughout the interview, starting with posture.
How should you sit?
Sit up straight but not rigid. You want to look alert and engaged, not like a soldier at attention. Your back should be against the chair back, shoulders down and relaxed.
What about leaning forward?
Leaning forward slightly shows interest and engagement. It signals, I'm paying attention to what you're saying, but don't lean so far that you're invading their space.
What does it mean if you lean back?
Leaning back can seem disinterested or overly casual. It can also make you look defensive if you cross your arms while doing it.
Speaking of arms, where should they be?
Keep them relaxed and visible. You can rest them on the armrests if the chair has them, or on the table if you're at a table. Use your hands naturally when you speak.
What about crossing your arms?
Avoid it. Crossed arms make you look closed off, defensive, or uncomfortable. Even if you're just cold or it's a comfortable position for you, the interviewer might read it as negative.
What should you do with your hands?
Let them rest naturally when you're listening. Use them to gesture when you're speaking. Gestures make you seem more animated and passionate about what you're saying.
But not too much gesturing.
Right, wild gestures are distracting. Keep movements controlled and purposeful, and avoid repetitive nervous gestures like tapping your fingers or shaking your leg.
What about fidgeting? A lot of people fidget when nervous.
It broadcasts anxiety and can be very distracting. Common fidgets include playing with a pen, touching your hair repeatedly, or adjusting your clothes.
How do you stop yourself from fidgeting?
Awareness is the first step. Maybe ask a friend if you have fidgeting habits. Then consciously keep your hands still or in your lap when you're not using them to gesture.
What about leg position?
Both feet flat on the floor is ideal. You can cross your legs at the ankles if that's more comfortable. Avoid crossing your legs at the knee. It can make you look too casual, and it's hard to maintain for a long interview.
Men and women differently?
The advice is the same for everyone. Professional, alert posture, regardless of gender.
What about mirroring? I've heard you should mirror the interviewer's body language.
Mirroring can build rapport, but it has to be subtle and natural. If they lean forward, you can lean forward slightly too, but don't mimic everything they do. That's weird and obvious.
So it's about matching their general energy level?
Exactly. If they're sitting back and relaxed, you can be a bit more relaxed. If they're leaning in with intense focus, match that energy.
What about personal space? How close is too close?
In most Western business contexts, maintain about 3 to 4 feet of distance. Don't lean into their personal space, and if they step back, give them more room.
What if you're interviewing across a desk?
The desk creates natural distance, which is good, but don't push your chair way back from the desk. Stay at a conversational distance.
What about objects on the table? Where do you put your bag, portfolio, etc.?
Bag on the floor beside your chair, portfolio or notebook on your lap or on the table in front of you, but not blocking your body or creating a barrier between you and the interviewer.
Can you reference notes during the interview?
Yes, it's fine to glance at notes occasionally, especially for questions you want to ask, but maintain eye contact most of the time. Don't bury your face in your notes.
Let's talk about eye contact because this makes a lot of people uncomfortable.
Eye contact is one of the most powerful forms of nonverbal communication. It shows confidence, honesty, and engagement.
How much eye contact should you make?
Maintain eye contact about 60 to 70% of the time while you're speaking, and even more when you're listening. In Western business culture, this signals confidence and trustworthiness.
What if you're naturally shy and eye contact feels uncomfortable?
Practice. Start with friends or family. Build up your comfort level. And remember, you don't have to stare without blinking. Natural eye contact includes occasional breaks.
Where should you look during those breaks?
Not at the floor or ceiling. That looks like you're avoiding eye contact. Instead, look just past their ear or at your notes if you're referencing something. Then return to eye contact.
What about in a panel interview with multiple people?
Make eye contact with whoever asked the question while you're answering, but also scan the room and make brief eye contact with the others periodically so no one feels ignored.
That sounds challenging.
It takes practice, but it's important because you want all the interviewers to feel engaged with you, not just the one asking questions.
What about staring? When does good eye contact become uncomfortable staring?
If you never break eye contact, that's staring. Natural conversation includes moments where you look away while thinking, then return to eye contact. Also, blink normally. Don't forget to blink.
Now let's talk about facial expressions, starting with smiling.
Smile during the greeting. Smile when it's natural during conversation. But don't have a frozen smile the entire time. That looks fake and uncomfortable.
When is it appropriate to smile?
When discussing something positive, when making a connection, when answering a question about something you're passionate about. Let your smile be genuine and reflect what you're actually feeling.
What about serious topics? Should you never smile?
If they're discussing a serious challenge the company is facing, you probably shouldn't be grinning. Match your expression to the tone of the conversation.
What other expressions should you be aware of?
Show you're actively listening. Nod when they make points. Raise your eyebrows slightly when they say something interesting. These micro-expressions show engagement.
What expressions should you avoid?
Rolling your eyes, looking skeptical or judgmental, frowning or looking bored. Even if you disagree with something they say, keep your expression neutral or thoughtful.
What if they say something that surprises you or you disagree with?
You can show thoughtfulness, a slight nod, maybe a thoughtful, but not an immediate negative reaction. Then respond diplomatically with your perspective.
What about showing emotion? Is it okay to show enthusiasm or excitement?
Absolutely. In fact, you should. Genuine enthusiasm about the role or the company is attractive to employers. Let your excitement show in your face and voice.
But not fake enthusiasm.
Right. People can tell when enthusiasm is forced. It has to be genuine. If you're not genuinely excited about the opportunity, that's probably not the right job for you anyway.
Now let's talk about your voice and how you speak. This is often overlooked, but it's crucial.
What aspects of voice should people pay attention to?
Volume, pace, tone, and clarity. Let's start with volume. You need to speak loudly enough to be easily heard, but not so loud that you're shouting.
How do you know if you're at the right volume?
If the interviewer is leaning in or asking you to repeat yourself, you're too quiet. If they're leaning back, you might be too loud. In a normal-sized office, conversational volume is fine.
What about pace? How fast should you talk?
This varies by culture and region, but generally, speak at a moderate pace. Not so fast that you're rushing through your answers, not so slow that you're dragging.
What happens if you speak too quickly?
You seem nervous. Also, the interviewer might miss important details, and you're more likely to stumble over words or say something you don't mean.
How do you slow yourself down if you naturally talk fast?
Practice your answers out loud beforehand. Take a breath between thoughts. Pause after you finish answering a question before they respond. Don't rush to fill silence.
What about tone? What does that mean exactly?
Tone is the emotional quality of your voice. You want to sound confident, warm, and professional, not monotone, not overly casual, not defensive or aggressive.
How do you achieve the right tone?
Think about how you'd talk to a respected colleague or mentor. Professional, but friendly. Use inflection. Let your voice rise and fall naturally. Emphasize important words.
What's wrong with monotone?
It makes you sound bored or unengaged, even if you're not. Vocal variety keeps people interested and shows your enthusiasm.
What about clarity? How do you speak clearly?
Enunciate your words. Don't mumble or trail off at the end of sentences. Finish your thoughts completely. And avoid filler words.
Filler words like like, you know?
Exactly. Everyone uses them occasionally, but too many make you sound uncertain or unprepared.
How do you reduce filler words?
Awareness and practice. Record yourself answering practice questions. Count how many times you say, then practice again trying to reduce it. Also, embrace silence. Pausing is better than filling with
What about saying like constantly? Especially younger people do this.
It's seen as unprofessional in interview contexts. Try to catch yourself and eliminate it. Replace like with pauses or actual descriptions.
What about upspeak? That's when your voice goes up at the end of statements, making them sound like questions.
That can make you sound uncertain or seeking approval. Make your statements sound like statements. Make them end with your voice going down, not up.
This is subtle but important.
Very. Your voice conveys confidence as much as your words do.
What about accent? Should people worry about their accent in interviews?
If you speak clearly and can be understood, your accent is fine. Don't try to fake an accent you don't have. Authentic is always better than fake.
What if your English is your second language and you're worried about being understood?
Speak a bit more slowly and clearly. Don't be afraid to ask them to repeat a question if you didn't understand. And if they don't understand your answer, rephrase it. Don't just repeat the same words louder.
Now, let's talk about soft skills, those interpersonal abilities that employers value. How do you demonstrate these in an interview?
Through everything we've been discussing, your body language, communication style, and how you interact, let's break down the most important ones.
Let's start with active listening. What does that look like?
Active listening means fully concentrating on what the interviewer is saying, not just waiting for your turn to talk. You show this through body language, nodding, maintaining eye contact, leaning forward slightly.
What else?
Responding to what they actually said, not what you expected them to say, asking clarifying questions if needed, and not interrupting them mid-sentence. Give me an example of good active listening. They say, "This role requires a lot of cross-functional collaboration." You respond, "That's interesting. When you say cross-functional, which departments would I be working with most closely?" You're building on what they said, not just launching into your prepared answer.
So you're having a real conversation, not just exchanging monologues.
Exactly. Next soft skill, emotional intelligence. This is your ability to read the room and respond appropriately.
How do you demonstrate this?
Pay attention to the interviewer's body language and adjust accordingly. If they seem rushed, keep your answers concise. If they're enjoying the conversation and asking follow-up questions, you can elaborate more.
So you're being responsive to their cues.
Yes. Also, emotional intelligence includes self-awareness. If you get a tough question and feel yourself getting defensive, take a breath and respond calmly instead of reacting emotionally.
What about adaptability? How do you show that?
Rolling with unexpected situations. If the interview format changes, maybe someone else joins, or they ask you to do a presentation you weren't expecting, handle it gracefully without complaint.
Give me an example.
I didn't prepare a formal presentation, but I'd be happy to walk you through my approach to this type of project on the whiteboard. You're adapting without making excuses.
What about professionalism? That seems obvious, but what does it really mean?
Professionalism is about maturity and boundaries. Don't overshare personal information. Don't badmouth previous employers. Don't ask inappropriate questions. Keep the conversation work-focused.
But you also want to be personable, not robotic.
Right, it's a balance. You can mention that you enjoy hiking if it comes up naturally, but don't launch into your entire dating history or family drama.
What about enthusiasm? How do you show that without seeming desperate?
Genuine enthusiasm comes through your energy, your smile, your body language. At the end of the interview, explicitly state your interest. I want to reiterate that I'm very excited about this opportunity.
But you mentioned not seeming desperate. What's the difference?
Enthusiasm says, "This is a great fit and I'd love to work here." Desperation says, "Please hire me, I'll take anything." The first comes from confidence, the second from need.
How do you show confidence without arrogance?
Confidence is, "I believe I can do this job well." Arrogance is, "I'm the best and you'd be lucky to have me." Talk about your accomplishments factually, acknowledge areas for growth, and show interest in learning.
What about curiosity? Is that a soft skill?
Absolutely, and it's highly valued. You demonstrate curiosity through the questions you ask, your genuine interest in learning about the role and company, and how you engage with information they share.
Give me an example.
They mention a new initiative the company is launching. A curious person says, "That sounds fascinating. What inspired that direction?" versus just nodding and moving on.
What about respect? How do you show respect in an interview?
Being on time, being prepared, addressing people by their names and titles appropriately, thanking them for their time, not checking your phone, giving them your full attention.
These seem like basic manners.
They are, but you'd be surprised how often people fail at these basics. Respect is shown through dozens of small behaviors.
Let's recap what we've covered about body language and soft skills.
First impressions matter hugely.
Nail the greeting with a confident handshake, genuine smile, and enthusiastic hello.
Maintain good posture throughout the interview. Sit up straight, lean forward slightly to show engagement, keep your arms uncrossed and your gestures natural.
Make appropriate eye contact, about 60 to 70% of the time. Use facial expressions to show you're engaged and interested.
Pay attention to your voice, volume, pace, tone, and clarity. Speak at a moderate pace with vocal variety. Minimize filler words like and like.
Demonstrate soft skills like active listening, emotional intelligence, adaptability, professionalism, and genuine enthusiasm.
Read the interviewer's cues and adjust your energy and approach accordingly. Show respect through all your behaviors, from arriving on time to giving them your full attention.
Next episode, our final episode, we're covering follow-up and thank you notes, how to stand out after the interview is over.
We'll talk about timing, what to include, how to add value, and how to gracefully handle waiting for a decision.
Until then, this is Alex
And Jenny from English at Work. Practice your handshake, check your posture, and we'll see you for the final episode.